We're on. Hello, everyone, and welcome to an evening with Pat and David. We are so excited to have this very fun conversation. We have Pat Proft on the line, we have David Zucker, and this is being live streamed on Instagram and also on YouTube. You can leave comments on both. You can ask your questions, and let's have a lively conversation. Welcome, Pat. Welcome, David. David is
Hello,
gonna
Ellie.
have.
That's Ellie Sosa, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Now, I have RFK's voice today, so don't worry about it.
Okay.
I have a little hoarse, but I'm going to be okay.
okay. We did that joke in Top Secret. He's
What's
just a
what
little
was that?
hoarse. I think. Yeah.
Oh, no,
Another
really.
bad pun. It's like, and the
Top
horse was
Secret
singing.
is loved, though. Top
Oh,
Secret is
it
loved, is it
is.
not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was ahead of its time. I mean, all of our flops were ahead of their time.
everything. Yeah, and I've
Yeah.
had two things that are
Way
still
ahead of their time.
way
Yeah.
ahead of their time.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Every one of them. So let's just start the conversation with how you guys met. This
We don't want to talk about that.
It was an experiment.
Yeah. So
It
it was
started with it. It
an
started with a
online
glance.
dating thing. I don't know. It was unhinged. No, it was we used to go to the Comedy Store, Jim and Jerry and I, and we'd see a lot of comics. Letterman was there, and Leno and Tom Dreesen, and Pat was one of the comics, one of our favorite comics there. And we thought, there's a guy who is like the guy that we left back in Madison, Chris Keene, and it's very much, it was that Midwestern sensibility.
Yeah, I love it.
But
And
It was yeah. It
Pat,
was.
what's your side of the story?
That's exactly right. I was on. I think I had gone and seen. You had to see Kentucky Fried Theater in L.A. because that was like the hottest place to go, and I went. So I loved the show, and then a couple weeks later, you guys showed up at the Comedy Store, and
yeah,
then
because one of our guys quit,
yeah,
and this
and
guy,
then
yeah,
you summoned me to the booth, and I thought, oh, here we go, and and you asked me if I wanted to be just point blank. Do you want to be in the show? And I had come from a comedy review background at the Brave New Workshop here in Minneapolis. So it was fun. I was in a show that already was huge, and it was fun to do. I had a lot of fun
and you
doing
said,
it.
yeah, I'll do it for a couple of weeks, and he ended up
Yeah,
staying for 45 years.
yeah, that
So
was it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's how long as I was there.
So let's give everyone kind of a recap of your relationship. So you joined Pat during the Kentucky Fried Theater days, and then
Yes,
you went off to work
I
on.
did television stuff, and then we reconnected with Police Squad. I think.
That's right. You were a writer on Mary Tyler Moore.
A bunch of other things. Yeah, Dick Van
Yeah,
Dyke,
and
all that kind of stuff.
Letterman was he Letterman on that?
Letterman and Michael Keaton was on this
Yeah,
variety
on
show
yeah,
called Mary, which
yeah.
was pretty bad. It only lasted two shows. That's
No,
how
but
bad it was.
it was ahead of its time. Yes.
Again,
Yeah,
really ahead
yeah.
of its time. They should
Right.
make a
Not
movie out of it
now
because
it would
really
be great. Yes.
yeah, I think it would be wonderful. But the thing is that I written some things that were in Airplane. So
Because we
then
used a lot of things in Airplane that were from the
yeah,
show.
the big airplane coming in with
Yeah,
the guy
when
bringing
Jerry
in
and
with the
I were
lights.
guiding in the airplane,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
where's the
We used to do
baggage
it in
loader?
the
It's
theater.
over there, and it
Yeah,
crashes.
yeah. So that was it, and then it was Police Squad, and
Yeah,
then
so when
the
we did
rest is
Police
history.
Squad, yeah, and
Is
we
it? Is
created
the
the
rest history? I would
yeah.
hope.
I don't know. It hasn't been written yet, I think, but
But that
there's
was it. So then we did Naked Gun, and in between I did Hot Shots with Jim Abrams. I did the first Hot Shots and the second one, and so it was
and
a
then
little. And Jerry was off.
doing Ghost.
Yes, that's right.
Jerry did Ghost, and then after the Hot Shots, um, I did a couple of movies that were ahead of their time,
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
and
What
then
are
and then
available?
Bob Wines, yeah, basketball. So uh, And
and
so
then
Bob
we
Weinstein called. He wanted me to do Scary Movie 3. So I called Pat and
mhm.
Craig Mazin, and you guys are the writers.
So we did that. We did three, 4, and 5. 5
Yeah,
is a piece.
yeah,
Very interesting movie is 5.
yeah. 5 didn't even have the dignity of being ahead of its time. It was,
Yeah, yeah,
Weinstein kept, delaying the release and then
yeah.
sending in jokes and having us change the plot. Well, he did that on 3 and 4 too, but we were able to dig our way out of that. But
There were 3 directors at the end. Each
oh
director
yeah,
had his own soundstage, and,
yeah, and Phil
and I'd
Dornfeld
be
directed
I'd
me.
be typing away little things that they could do.
Yeah, and you would hand them off as the actors were going onto the set
Yeah,
to shoot it.
and Snoop Dogg is next door, so I'm getting kind of that crosswind high from
Well,
the Snoop guys.
about
Yeah,
that, yeah, he was in the office down the hall from ours, and
yeah,
we had to get a new building for our offices because everybody was getting high, and
I
we
know, I
couldn't
know,
breathe,
I
and yeah,
know, I
it was
know.
full of smoke. So,
Yeah,
but he was a nice guy. We had fun with him.
when he showed up, it was cool.
We- Oh, did he? I don't
Not a
remember.
lot.
Yeah,
He was always late, but that doesn't matter.
yeah,
Snoop is okay with it. So
yeah,
so that is, and then from since that time, we've written many things
yeah.
that are
We wrote.
so
We
ahead
wrote.
of their time that they haven't been filmed yet.
Yeah, that's right. Well, uh, yeah, we wrote what we called Naked Gun 4. Did we do that before Star of Malta?
I think so.
So
Whoa.
we wrote, our idea was I thought, let's do another Naked Gun. And so we wrote but we did, Pat and I never want to go back to doing the same stuff. We've done Naked Gun. It's an old, tired thing. Yeah, Leslie Nielsen was great, but casting an old guy is, that was done. So we thought we won't even set it in a LA cop station. We'll do it in a genre that people actually care about, which is the international spy thriller. So we
Yeah.
did. And it would have been the son of Leslie, son of Frank Drebin, and it would have been an Andy Samberg type, a 30-something
Yeah.
comic actor who could play it straight and not and set in Europe, doing what Tom Cruise does
Yeah.
essentially.
We called
Yeah.
it Naked Impossible,
Right.
and
Well, the
and it
first
had.
the first title was Naked Gun 4, Nordberg Did It, which had nothing to do with the with the
I know.
movie. But then we called it Naked Impossible, and but and so Paramount, they appeared to like the script, and but there was a hesitancy about it,
Yeah.
and I think we thought maybe Tom Cruise objected to it because Tom Cruise just about owns the studio.
We
So
were
we
told
thought
that.
they. Mhm.
Yeah. That he'd get mad.
Oh, we were told that Tom Cruise would be upset, and so we adjusted the script a little bit so that it didn't do any direct spoofs on Mission Impossible. I think that's what we did. Anyways, we went back and forth, and then suddenly we woke up and reread that they had dispensed with us altogether.
You
So
you aged out.
yeah, we were aged out. No one over age 35 can be possibly have any talent. So, so that was the end. That was the end of that. And so we repurposed the script and called it Counterintelligence, spelled with one L and a J. And it still is a great story, great script because I think we know what we're doing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
a couple of questions in the chat. And by the way, guys, at home, you can put your questions on the chats on YouTube, on Instagram. So we have a couple of questions. Dan asks, what are your memories of Howard Koch?
Mm.
Pat,
Oh, that's interesting.
any memories of Howard Koch?
No,
No,
Pat, no
that's
memory.
airplane time.
His
Yeah.
memories
Yeah.
were erased. Yeah,
That was
No,
it.
yeah.
yeah. Legally.
But 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 Howard, at first we didn't know who he was, but we were insisting on directing it, and it was 3 directors, and that had never been done, and we were first-time directors, and it was a comedy without comedians. And they said, "Okay, two things: we'll let you direct, but number one, you have to accept our executive producer on the set on your team with us. His name is Howard Koch. He's a past president of the studio, and you, you know. And then the second condition was that we, the Paramount, the studio said we can fire you after 2 weeks.
Oh,
And we
great.
said, and we said, okay, that's fine. But who was this Howard Koch? Well, he was meant to be Paramount's man on our set. What happened is he became our man at Paramount. So, we would go off half cocked and every little problem that happened, and go, oh, we're gonna walk. Well, they can't do I mean, they wanted to cast Barry Manilow at one point as strikers. So, and we would fly into a panic. And Howard said, just relax. Don't. This will go away. Just wait a week. And what happened is Howard would call their manager, and he did the same thing with Chevy Chase and Bill Murray, who are wonderful, but they wouldn't be right for Airplane because we didn't want comedians. And Howard would say, these guys are young. It's their first movie, and we don't know how this is going to turn out. So the agents would turn it down, which was great because we wanted either non-comedians or people who weren't famous as comedians. So and
I mean,
we
Paramount really took a chance, didn't they? What
they
they
did,
went for.
yes.
Yeah, it's amazing that I don't know if that would happen anymore. I
It
don't know if
wouldn't.
that.
It wouldn't
Yeah,
because
yeah,
studios don't make as many pictures,
yeah.
and Katzenberg is quoted often in our book, and he said the studio at that time was a little bit unique among the Hollywood studios in that as he put it, they weren't afraid to fail, and so
Mm.
it was wonderful. They were willing to try stuff. They were willing to take a flyer with us, and it was they took a big chance. But
What was the budget
the
on Airplane?
budget was 3.2 million.
See, that's one of the reasons too. Yeah, is
Yeah,
that
and so they couldn't.
they make
It
it back
wasn't a
fast. Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah,
wasn't, and which means they couldn't lose because
yeah.
uh, as these kind of movies have a long tail. They have the TV sale, the foreign sale. It turned out it made as much internationally as it did domestically.
That's you keep forgetting that the international market likes. I mean, that's what we did. Hot Shots and Guns is like they love action things that are
Well, it's
physical comedies.
it's actually that not only that, but they love spoof because
Yeah,
regular American comedies they often didn't get, but they shared the references. Everybody had seen airliner and trouble movies,
yeah,
and they saw horror movies, and they saw detective movies at the time. They were making
yeah.
detective movies and Dirty Harry, and so it traveled really well, except in Japan.
Why would you think?
Maybe because they're inscrutable. I don't know. What do you think?
they
Did I?
had
Yeah.
I don't know. They
No,
the
I'm sorry, that's the Chinese. Yeah. But
yeah.
it
We
didn't.
had when
Yeah.
Jim and I had Hot Shots. I think it was in Paris or something, and the sound went out, but everybody was laughing. I mean, because everything was a visual thing.
It was
So
so visual. Yeah.
yeah, it didn't really matter. So that was well, they had to come back, of course.
But
But
everybody had seen Tom Cruise movies. I mean,
that's the thing. Yeah, yeah.
the Top Gun.
We
And,
ride the tail of these big hits.
in fact, Pat and Jim and I wanted to do a Top Gun, 2025.
Yeah.
We were
Hot
going to
Shots.
call, yeah,
I'm now.
Hot Shots 3, I
I'll
guess.
talk to you about it. Hot Shots Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, Hot
We'll
Shots
see
Plus.
what's happening. Yeah. Ellie, what do you got, Elle?
I have more questions for you guys. We have so many questions.
Okay,
So
good.
In the
let's
front
go
row, we
through
have
all
a
of them.
customer in
Yeah,
front
Pat
row.
can't wait to answer.
So this is a really cool one. I'm curious about this. What's the secret to collaborating and making something really funny?
Ooh.
Well,
First, you got to be funny. That's a cool thing.
yeah, right. Yeah, it
And
helps.
you
I
got
mean,
to think the same
Prerequisite.
way, which is a cool thing.
we do.
So
We
I think
thought the
all of
same
us
way.
think
Yeah.
visually, which really is great. And then it's like the Guns. We just the first one we sat down we watched a whole bunch of films that were in the genre,
Yeah,
got ideas, and
and
then started carting it out with big scenes and stuff.
like
So,
there was a movie with Robert Mitchum called Farewell, My Lovely.
oh, I love that. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Remember? So we watched that and we saw Charlotte Rampling come down the stairs. And one of us said, and we don't remember who came up with what, but how about if she fell down the stairs?
yeah.
And
Boom.
not
Yeah,
that falls haven't been done before, but how
yeah,
we did it was that we never showed her falling down the stairs. We
yeah,
cut to Leslie, and Leslie's going,
yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And
And
so
then and
we
then it
would,
was dialogue. We used dialogue from My Fair. Her hair was like gold in the
yeah,
frames of movies or something, whatever it was. And then legs you could suck on for
for a
a
week.
week.
Yeah. And so
That we made
those
up.
are things that we would think of. And the other key to our collaboration was we never cared about who wrote what. So when people would ask us who wrote that joke or who wrote this joke, we honestly could not remember. I mean, there's a few things that I can remember, like Jim would uh, rarely pitch jokes to us. He would
Yeah.
just type them and then let Jerry and me and Pat read
Read
them.
them.
So when it was when Julie Haggerty says I remember how I used to hold you and how I used to sit on your face and wriggle. That was Jim,
That's Jim
and
Abrams.
he would type that out, and he probably also did. I take it black like my men. And Jerry and I would read this for the first time and just crack up.
I
Uh,
know. I know.
yeah.
What we did is then we send things back and forth to each other.
Yeah.
Or
Well, on
and
Naked Gun,
yeah.
we would send back, yeah, we would send it around, and Pat would add to something that Jerry did, and I would add something that,
Yeah.
and it was we Pat used to call it Tinkers to Evers to Chance, which was
Yeah.
an
It
old
was
reference,
but
but
it was yeah. But it worked great. It always still works great that way.
oh, well, that's
It,
how we did Naked Gun, our Naked Gun for Naked Impossible and Star of
mhm.
Malta. And especially with Pat living in Minneapolis, and Mike McManus and I are here, and so Mike would come to the office, and we would pitch stuff around, and then either have Pat on Zoom or on the phone, but often we just send the material to Pat, and
Yeah.
he would write stuff, and then he'd come back, and Pat would always say, "Well, it's time for Dave to work his magic," So
The David Magic.
the David
That'd be.
magic,
We
yes.
should say Mike McManus is somebody we wrote this thing called Star of Malta and the and Naked Impossible and which
Right. And
became
Star of Malta, we actually had a 0 hour because, as I think people know, Airplane is based on this 1957 movie called 0 Hour. But so we loved film noir. In fact, Airplane is based on, of course, 0 Hour was film noir.
Mhm.
It was 1957. It was black and white. So we got a hold of this movie called Detour, and it's
uh,
public domain, and we used that as the base. But the trouble with it was it seemed to end after 2 acts, and I don't know. They may have run out of money or something,
probably.
but we added what I called Hamburger Helper to, and put it really fashioned a whole story. And oh, it was so much fun. I mean, we loved
Yeah.
putting it's like solving a puzzle. And it was,
It's fun to write when you're writing something like I remember Naked Gun. I couldn't wait to get the script done
yeah.
because I knew how funny this was, and I couldn't wait to get it filmed and then out because I knew this thing was it really was
Yeah,
we
and it's
laughed our
still
ass
gonna be
off.
good. It just won't
Yeah.
be Paramount's franchise. It'll be our franchise. And so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's original. It's like it's new stuff
Yeah.
we want to do.
So Ellie is changing her clothing each time we see her. I
I
like
thought
that
we're
a
gonna
lot.
ignore this.
No, I just love no, because that made me laugh.
But this is one of our rules.
You stepped it up.
Acknowledgement.
I
Acknowledgement.
broke it.
Yeah.
I broke the rule. I laughed at it. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but he laughed. He's being himself.
Pat, we have a question for you. So,
Well, let me answer that. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Dave can get that one.
Yeah.
Pat, who are some of your writing influences, and what is your process when writing your classic puns?
Ooh, I I come back from. I love Marx Brothers. I love Lauren Hardy. Anything that Hal Road Studios did, I like because it was all visual stuff. And yeah, I like the silent movie guys because it's I love physical jokes. And when I just write all the time. Okay, there's a subject, I'll just start writing on it and see where you see what could happen with it. Um, I just never stop writing on it,
And
whatever it
but
is.
well, Pat is kind of takes the lead on the slapstick stuff, and that's where we're all going around saying "gana" because in the script, you know, Pat would write "gana." I don't know what that means, but also, it was interesting that when Leslie Nielsen died, they they quoted all these lines as though the actress make them up
He made him up. Yeah,
himself.
I know.
But Leslie was a
Yeah,
genius at acting, but
yeah.
all those lines were really written by Pat, like like a midget at a urinal. I had to stay on my toes.
I
So
know. I know.
and it
Nice
was
beaver.
nice beaver. Those things just and I don't know if you can teach that, but
I can't. I know you can tell I can't explain it. It
you
just happens. It just is. I can have an idea and just start on it, and then see where it goes. And then a lot of times there's like 4 or 5 things I'm thinking about, and then I see, wait a minute, this is one movie.
But yeah,
I could take. I could
and one
take
of the
like.
things that's great is that like Mad Magazine, which we all
Yeah,
read, Mad,
yeah,
it's scenes we'd like to see. And so Mad taught us that we don't have to take these movies seriously. We can be the little boy who says, "Hey, the emperor has no clothes." So
yeah.
that was the
The
fun of it
but Mad
for us.
Magazine was also a really influence on me. I really
Yeah,
love that stuff, and I love
and
the little things around
right,
the edges too, which is Sergio Aragonés did those things, which
that's
I
right. And not only that, they had stuff happening in the background,
yeah, that's what we
and
did.
nobody in the foreground would acknowledge
Yeah,
what was happening in the background. And then one movie that I know that we saw that we just cracked up at was Harold and Maude, because
okay.
there was that scene where Ruth Gordon was talking to somebody inside, and out the window, Bud Cort was lighting himself on fire.
I remember
Right
that.
on the
Yeah,
truth.
that's
And
great.
but
Yeah,
it was in the background. So
yeah,
I think,
yeah,
the combination of Mad Magazine and
yeah.
movies like that. I don't remember too many other movies that did background, but uh,
No, we did the same thing in
Hal Ashby, I think, directed that.
the in Hot Shots. We did where Lloyd is talking about something, Tug Benson, in the background. The parade now is turning into a dance thing, which is going
Oh
on.
yeah, but
But
I
yeah,
thought I thought you were going to say my favorite thing in Hot Shots was that somebody was doing something in the foreground, and you see all these presidents digging, and their and their
yeah,
shovels are knocking
yeah.
each other
They,
down.
they were turning the earth over for a new something, a
Yeah,
new
like
orphanage or something.
because yeah,
Yeah.
if you did it in the foreground, I think it would still be funny, but only half as much.
Only yeah, because we had the broadcaster was talking to us about it, and then Lloyd would bring his shell around and hit
Yeah,
Nixon and
yeah,
hit
but
everybody up.
but to put it in the background is great, and that's
Yeah,
why that ending shot to Naked Gun, uh, OJ being catapulted over the Dodger Stadium grandstand
yeah.
was funny enough, but putting it in the background with Leslie and Priscilla talking made it
Rowan Atkinson
better.
told me we had him in Hot Shots Part U, and he said he never could understand how we could pack so much comedy in like in a frame, which was a nice compliment from him.
Yeah,
So
well, a part of it was, the pace of it. Everybody said it's you guys do like 3 jokes a minute, and that's probably true. But first of all, we never counted. But when Pat and I were doing Kentucky Fried Theater, we were on stage, and we just wanted to keep the audience laughing because to be
yeah,
on stage and having silences would be
yeah.
really embarrassing.
Sometimes there was
So
no ending. We just end on the big laugh, and
yeah,
that's how that happened. Yeah. All right. Did we answer that?
yeah,
You did. Okay, so I do want to make a quick comment for those of you watching on Instagram. Something weird happens when you tap the screen. All of a sudden, the screen blows up, and then you only see their shoulders. So the way I guess you need to get out of that is you get out of the live stream and re-enter the live stream, and then you're able to see all three of us on screen or the two of them when they're speaking.
And in
So,
other words, get your shit together. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
in other words,
Yeah.
technology, technology. I don't know why it does that. It was happening to
Yeah.
me as well, and Debbie helped me troubleshoot with that. So I'm letting you
Okay.
guys know. I see that people in the chat are saying that they're only seeing the shoulders.
Oh my
For
God.
some reason,
Oh,
that's happening. So
yeah.
yeah, so we have more questions for you guys. Uh, Pat, this is actually
Yes.
a question from me, right?
You?
Because yes, from me. I'm ignoring everyone else.
Curious.
So what I've witnessed over the years is how you're able to just come up with a million jokes for every situation, and then how easily you're able to throw some out and then adapt them and change them, and you're just so I don't know, you're so malleable as a writer, and then you just come up with more ideas and more ideas. So I'm
And I keep throwing them out.
and David keeps throwing them
Yeah.
out.
That's why I have to
Yes.
keep up, keep
Right. Yeah.
bringing new things. Yeah.
So my question for you is,
It's a
how, where
gift. I have no
Yeah.
idea. It's a gift.
it
It's
just
just
comes?
something. That's how I think everything. That's how
And you were doing it since grade school, I'm sure.
yeah. It just happens. And I had yeah. It would be on the set. I'd think of a lot of things that Tug Benson said in Hot Shots were things that I kind of thought about there that day, and yeah. I guess I'm always writing. I just never. But thank you, Emily. That's very nice. My wife's over here, but I think.
Hey,
Hey, that's a
Hey, big guy.
that's an off-screen joke. Yes.
That's one of
but
your things, isn't it? One of the 15, I think. Thank you. I have been. I just been able to do that always, and it's a good thing to have if you're
yeah,
doing it.
it is remarkable to
I
see.
used to do improv a lot too at the Brave New Workshop, so it's like,
Mhm.
I did a lot of that stuff, and I was on stage mostly until about 1970 something or other. I was I did stand up, and I did a double act with a guy named Tom Schroman, and so that's what yeah.
And a lot
This
of
is fun.
our Kentucky Fried Theater sketches came out of doing improv.
Yeah.
And so we would try to improvise things. And, we had the Johnny Dark routine. It was in a
No.
bar,
Yeah.
and where
Yeah.
he's trying, Pat's trying to get the guy to give information and offers
Yeah.
him money. Maybe this will refresh your memory.
That came
And we
from
did
there.
that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the guy gives the money back,
Yeah.
and we use that in Naked Gun,
Yep.
right from the
And
stage.
also, you got Steve Stucker on stage, and it's
Oh,
Steve
yeah,
Stucker, right? It was one of the most incredible humans I've ever ever met. He was an incredible
yeah,
guy. I
right.
like him. Yeah.
We have so many comments in the chats talking about the book, The Airplane. You can, if you don't have it, you can go to
Okay, but
theairplanebook.com.
those
And
questions should be for me. Pat doesn't
Yeah. I don't give a shit
write
about
that
that.
he
I'm
book.
did
getting
not
nothing out
write
of
that
it.
book.
Yeah,
I'm
No,
barely
but
in.
to your point, Pat, that book, I think that Stucker chapter is probably one of my favorite chapters.
Yeah. He was very special human.
and
Very special.
what Julie says about him, they actually
Yeah.
went on a trip together, and,
I
and Steve did the ironing for her mother or something. I don't know. Yeah,
didn't.
He stayed behind
yeah,
to iron with her mother.
yeah.
He lived with a friend of mine, Tom Schroman, for a while, and then Tom said, I said, what does he do all day? He says, well, yesterday he was cleaning the garage 12 hours straight, not straight. He was doing it.
Cleaning is gay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's a great, yeah, one of the people I miss. Yeah.
But Stucker was our piano player in Kentucky Fried Theater, live on stage, and
Mhm.
that's why we knew we had to put him on an airplane. And in fact, like a lot of the scene, we couldn't really write for him. No one could. He
No.
came up with his own stuff. So, for instance, for the press conference, and we called him up while we were writing that, and we gave Stucker the straight lines, the questions, like what kind of plane in it, the plane is it,
Mhm.
and Stucker came back with, oh, it's a big, pretty white plane with wheels and red stripes. It looks like a big Tylenol. So, and that was just we just wrote down what
Yeah.
what Stucker
Yeah.
dictated. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. How much of the film, and this might be more for David, how much of the films are made in the editing room or on the set? And how much is
Well,
it
not,
on
it's
the
all
page?
done in the writing of all the movies. I mean, I'm sure Hot Shots was the same way. Most of it's done in the writing. And then what we always like to say is directing is just problem solving. You get the if something doesn't work when the actors are saying it, and often it's the first time you hear it, other than maybe a beginning table read. It's you gotta kind of hear the pace, and you got to figure out what's wrong. So it's just
Mm.
fixing stuff. But
Yeah.
the movie is done in the writing.
I can remember table read. You mentioned table read was the when we did the first Naked Gun table read, and George Kennedy laughed so hard he couldn't breathe after a while when the
Oh,
line came up, "I have my nuts bit off by a
a
Laplander,"
Laplander.
and he laughed so hard at that joke. Huh. Another good joke, by the way. Huh.
Yeah. Well, when
What do you
people,
got, Ellie?
I
yeah.
got more
Well,
questions
okay.
for you. Okay, so this is actually a question that came from multiple people. So the question is, what is your memory of Greg Nordberg?
No,
Greg is great.
that's Pat.
I
Yeah.
went okay. I went to high school with Greg Norberg, and Greg Norberg's been my friend for a long time, and we were coming up with names for for various people in the Naked Gun, and I mentioned Greg Norberg, but what happened when it got misspelled and became
Well, it's not misspelled. Actually, on the way from the airport in Milwaukee
yeah.
to the city, there's this big manufacturing plant called Nordberg.
Oh, okay, all right.
I don't know if it's there anymore, but I did take a picture of it, so it's in there.
So
So yeah,
it's his name, but it's bastardized a little bit.
yeah,
Greg,
Nordberg.
so here it is. Five of us guys from Columbia Heights High School in the 60s are in the movie business. And five of us have had number one at the box office. It's like amazing. It was Norberg, Schroman, McManus, me, and a guy named Nick Skank, who
Nice.
writes a lot of Clint Eastwood movies.
Oh wow.
It's
So
like
and those
weird.
are
It's
fun.
just
Yeah,
yeah. So there you are.
and from one high school, amazing.
Columbia Heights High School. So that's Greg Norberg. Greg is still a great guy. Greg is
Yeah,
he's wonderful.
we email and text with him and McManus.
We did, yes, right. He lost his thumb,
Yeah,
and I got to tell this story. I'm sorry
yeah,
because Abrams loved this story.
yeah.
Jim would always say, "Tell the story."
Tell the story.
God. So poor Greg cut his thumb off working for Neil Israel, and we get a call at the office saying his thumb's off, and we said, "Did you wrap it in ice?" And they said, "Oh, it's too mangled." So, so then what happened is he had a prosthesis for a while, but then he was the first person on the planet to have his big toe implanted where his thumb was.
Oh God.
So Greg had a thumb that had hair on it. And it was like, I mean, it's like, so that was the thing. And
Oh,
anyway, that's the story of Rick Norberg. He
yeah.
was a wonderful man, by the way.
That's awesome. Okay, so the next question. What was it like working on Police Squad, and what was kind of like the inception for it? Where did that come from?
David?
I can't. I can't. We were fans of this 1958 television show set in Chicago with a jazz theme, which was called M Squad, and it starred Lee Marvin, and it had an Ed character who was older than Lee Marvin, uh, and we just thought this was a great. It was, again, film noir. So we thought we could do a movie of it, and Jim and Jerry and I tried to write a movie, but we didn't know how to write a movie at that point because it was after Airplane, and we thought we knew how to write a movie, but we didn't. And so Eisner said, he said, called and said, I can get you 6 if you make it into a TV, 6 episodes. I can get you 6 on the air at ABC. And so we said, oh, okay. And I remember, but Jim and Jerry do not remember it this way. We said yes, and then we thought about it, and we said we don't want to do a TV show. And so we called them back. We called back Eisner and said, we don't. On second thought, we don't want to do this. And Eisner said, well, it's too late. I already sold it. Like we believed it. And so we did the show, and then we brought Pat on as the head writer. And
did you? But this was for Robert Stack at one time, or Van Johnson, right? Didn't you want them?
I think we went to Robert Stack first because we were kind of enamored of Stack, but Stack was doing a show already. I think Unsolved Mysteries. And
he was in a trench coat all the time.
Yeah, right. He didn't want to step off the boat unless a doc was there. So, we understood, and he did probably a good decision because it lasted only 4 episodes, and so
we got. From Stack, we got a line that we use in Hot Shots. She's got a blouse full of goodies.
Oh, did you use that in Hot Shots? Yeah,
we used it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Yeah, Jim and I always quoted that. But the plan for the Police Squad series was that we were going to hire writers and other directors, and have it go. But it was hard to do. It was hard to find writers who could really do this stuff. Although the writers came up with some great stuff. One of the lines that's best remembered from Police Squad was when a guy says to Leslie, "Who are you and how did you get in here?"
Yeah.
Leslie says, "I'm a locksmith and I'm a locksmith."
Yeah.
So that was, and that I think that was written by
Neil Thompson. Neil Thompson and Nancy Steenwert. Yeah, and that was Neil's line. Yeah.
Right.
We have a
follow-up question.
We have a follow-up question from Greg Nordberg's thumb. What did they
Jesus.
put? What did they put instead of his toe?
Pat? Did you ever think this?
No,
this
I shouldn't have
Facebook Live would devolve down to this?
And nothing. He just didn't have a. He sacrificed that for. He was on the Today Show with playing basketball with with a thumb as big as a pickleball. So it would atrophy down though. It became. It was big. It was huge.
But it did atrophy.
It worked. It obviously did what he had to do. Yeah. So
and
that's a wonderful story.
So that's the follow-up. Nothing. He has 9 toes.
Yeah.
And you'll like this, Pat. Apparently, they can see me changing behind David.
Oh no! This is
all right. And there's the background joke.
There's the background joke. There you go. And people are confused. Why is she changing?
Why is she taking off her top?
That joke is over. Yeah. Can you live with it? Yeah. Okay.
There you go. Here we go. What are some jokes that you guys have thrown away over the years that you wish had made it into movies? That you wish
I had one. I had an opening for Naked Gun. That was going to be him and Priscilla were going to be in Berlin, or he was in Berlin or something. But it was at the time when the wall just started to come down, and he's picking off people as they're coming through, saying there's an invasion. People with
that would have been great.
Yeah. Da 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 bang 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 da 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 da. And the cops kind of taking the gun away from him. Obviously he'd be a murderer, but that wouldn't be good. But we had the steps thing, the untouchable steps that was in 3. We had that very early on. We wanted to do it like
we want to do that,
but we were told it would cost too much, which is basically fuck you. You can't do it.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear about it anymore.
But we did do it.
Yeah, we did do it in 3. Which
we did it in 3. Oh,
why did we do it first? Yeah, but it worked so well in there. that kind of stuff. That opening is the thing I always thought it'd be great to do, but I don't remember many scenes that we didn't throw out or anything. I don't remember anything.
I can't remember in the Naked Guns. I don't remember too many scenes that we threw
No,
out,
no,
or that
How about an
we.
airplane or any of the other
Well,
movies?
we did a thing with a comedian named Sam Quasman who did a great. Do you remember
yeah.
that?
I
He
miss
did a
Sam is still
great.
around. Yeah,
Yeah,
Sam
he
does
did
duck. Yeah,
a wonderful Donald Duck impression.
yeah, yeah.
So there was a scene in Zero Hour where the stuff comes through on the teletype or something, or on the typewriter, and then a hand comes in and rips it out.
Hmm.
Typical. They've done this in movies. So we had Sam Quasman rip it out. Only it was a rubber. It's just and it's stretched, and he's going.
I like that. That's a good
It,
joke. It's a
we
very good
shot
joke.
it, and it's
Yeah,
too bad that we don't have that today because in those days the studios threw out the dailies.
yeah. We tried to, I don't know if it was Hot Shots or Guns or anything, but there's two Lauren Hardy things which I've tried to um, redo. Is the one where Ollie goes down the steps, but his legs are in the air. I know he goes down the steps
Oh
on his
yeah,
hands.
I
Yeah, yeah.
remember.
I think we tried that and it just didn't.
It didn't work.
It didn't work out. No, no, no. I can't remember things that we didn't do. I don't remember. I don't know. I think we used everything
Did
that
you?
we
Was
could
that
think
scene
of.
with Lloyd Bridges
Which
with the
one?
bum 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 bum,
No, it was.
or
I
with
forget.
Charlie?
Yeah, yeah. I think
Oh,
it was
okay,
with Charlie. I think. Yeah.
okay.
Maybe that's why it didn't work.
I think it would have been good with Lloyd. Yeah,
Yeah. You always think of Lloyd things that
but
would have been.
Lloyd was great in Hot Shots, and in the first rehearsals and table reads of Naked Gun,
Hmm.
he was going over the top, and we
Yeah.
kept trying to bring him back,
Yeah.
and also and he was also trying to make sense of his dialogue,
I know. I know.
and
I
so
know. I know.
yeah, we
We
just
had. We had a little thing where he said, "I said you take your hat and you put it on." He said, "No, it's a cap." I said, "Well, it's a hat. It's a cap. So tell me to put my cap on, not my hat." So it was like first day in the set. I didn't know what I was up against at the first day. So,
oh,
but
okay,
Lloyd was just he was so great. And the scene where he's Hot Shots when he walks up to what he thinks is the window and it's a painting.
yeah,
All right, Roy. Look, no one's
yeah.
moving. He was
it
great.
it's almost like the character you wrote in Magoo, but the
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, he
funniest
would have
thing
been.
about, yeah, that
Yeah.
was the director. Didn't the director didn't really know what.
They had a director from Hong Kong who
Yeah,
had done a bunch of karate stuff,
and
and then he turned to me on the set and said, "I will use the accent too. Why Magoo, not C? That's the director." Well,
that's the director. So at
yeah.
that point, you knew the movie was in
I
trouble.
thought, why am I here? There's no
Yeah.
sense after this. After this. And plus, I had told one of the actors that I named him Bob Morgan, and he said, "Oh, that's great." And he went to high school. Yeah, so he got shot holding up a gas station. God, his whole character thing went out of his head. That it was like Jesus, I'm a dead man. What do you got, Ellie?
Who are some of the actors that you guys went to for the various roles who said no to you? And do you wish they had done it?
The one who I remember, we went to Harriet Nelson to do the Barbara Billingsley role in
Oh,
Airplane.
yeah.
We went to Jack Webb uh, to do one of the Lloyd Bridges role. And I think, remember, there was an actor named Vince Edwards who had done
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Ben Casey. We went
Yeah, yeah.
him for the doctor, and I don't know if he turned it down or if we turned him down, but there were at least three actors, and Vincent Price turned down the doctor, and it was three actors turned it down before we went to Leslie,
Hmm.
and it's just one of those fortunate accidents.
It was for Hot Shots. We actually saw a little thing that Ben Stiller did. and we thought he'd be great for that part. And I think Jim really liked him for a while.
Yeah.
But then the studio said, Charlie Sheen, let's go there. And then we had a meeting with Charlie, and he seemed perfect. And he was a guy who was, in all these action things.
Didn't
And
didn't
he, huh?
didn't Joe Ross say, "Why don't you do?" Or you're going to cast Charlie Sheen?
Well, it was like, we if we didn't want him, we wouldn't have done it.
Right.
But Charlie was just fitted perfectly.
Yeah.
And after while he really got a hang of it. I mean, yeah, like one of the first days they said, he said, "How do I do this?" And I said, "I want you to go for an Oscar. I
Yeah.
want you to think that you're going to win the Oscar."
Yeah.
And he really got it. Him, Leslie, and Anna Faris are the three
We're
people
the
that I
top
think
three.
I,
So
I
good.
they just know what they're doing with this. It's so good.
To
Anna's
direct
so great.
those three was like
Yeah,
being a Lamborghini or something. I mean, it's just like
yeah.
just had the best. And we used Charlie in all the scary movies.
And and Anna was in what, one or two of them? Three? Two.
Anna was in 3 and 4. Oh, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, the
Okay.
Wayans cast her in 1 and
And
2.
the Wayans get to write the movie, the new one.
That's right.
Not new guys, but Wayans can.
That's right. Now they somehow, I don't know what possessed the studio to keep the Wayans on. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, in an odd moment of maniacal craziness, a studio
They
actually
probably
did
went,
something right. Yes.
shit, they wrote the first one. That was really good. Let's get them
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
And
We didn't get that.
no, we didn't get that. We got who are those guys? Yeah.
You guys are too old.
Yeah, they're too old.
We got we validate.
Yeah. What
Nice.
what nursing home do they live in? Yes, that's we got.
Are
that.
they
Yeah.
still alive?
Yeah.
Exactly. What do you got, Ella?
Pat,
Ellie?
we have a question for you. Can you talk about the unused Weird Al song he recorded and sent you for possible use for the opening of Hot Shots? Skid marks in the sky. Oh, did we lose Pat? I think that's the last straw.
Oh no.
For Pat.
And he was the most interesting one.
He was.
Wait a minute. What's
What
going on
happened
here?
with Pat? We got frozen. He's
Oh,
no
he's
good for this question.
I'm absolutely no good for this question. I can. I thought for a moment, because there was a silence, that Pat
that
didn't
he's
know the
thinking
answer
about
either.
it. Yeah. Oh, his image has disappeared.
Oh my God.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
maybe his-
Right on the question.
Maybe he needed to recharge his.
His computer died.
Yeah.
This is what happens when old guys try to do technology.
Wait a minute. Maybe Paramount was right.
Oh, yeah, maybe you should not be doing.
This is awful. Yeah.
Oh, Pat has disappeared.
Okay.
Okay, well, he'll get back.
Any questions about basketball?
We actually have a ton of questions, David, about Star of Malta.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Pat is on the phone.
He's on the phone.
He'll be there. Here soon. Okay, so let's.
I could quick answer.
Yeah, let's talk about Star of
Star of
Malta.
Malta.
What is next? I mean, and he can join in as soon as he.
As I was saying,
hops on.
we saw a movie called Detour, and there's a whole bunch. There's a world of things you can do if you're not tied to 2025. So, and in these movies, it was a different time, a different place, and you can do them for very economically, because you just do it against a green screen, and outdoor night scenes can be done on a stage. And no, if you try to do that today, everybody would say, well, what, that looks fake or something. But in 1949, it's like it's accepted. So
yeah, and so you wrote Star of Malta with Pat Proft.
With Pat and Mike
McManus.
McManus. Yeah.
Mike McManus. It's a very funny script.
It's not only funny, it has a great story.
It does.
And you really get into the boy and girl. And we usually have written all these movies where it's the funny guy, it's Leslie, or it's somebody is the funny guy, and then the girl. But this has, 3 really well-developed female roles, and which is just so nice.
Can you tell us kind of the premise for it?
the premise is, a guy gets out of prison. He's actually the guy kills somebody accidentally in a boxing ring.
He's a boxer.
He's a boxer, and he murders the most famous and well-loved boxer in the whole on the whole planet, and he goes to prison, and this starts a string of inadvertent murders, and so
Accidental.
all accidental murders. So he's actually a serial killer, but he's our guy. Everybody loves him, and he meets a girl at a dime a dance place, and all these things. Nothing like this exists anymore. You'd pay a dime, you'd get to dance with a girl for 10 minutes or something. So he meets Harriet, and she wants to be an actress, and she wants to go to Hollywood and become a star, and but she doesn't have the money to do it, and she finally he gives her the only money he has, and she takes a train to Hollywood. And meanwhile, he hitchhikes, and on the way, he uh, he hitchhikes with this one guy called
Haskell.
Haskell, who would be played by who's that?
Oh
I
yeah, we
can't-
have it.
Uh, yeah, Sean. He's a very popular comedian who he was on Saturday Night Live, and he got kicked off and came back to guest host it.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. Anyways, I have all these casting things in mind, and the guy tells him about he's going to L.A. to uh, take this Star of Malta, which he has in a safe deposit box, and it's worth millions of dollars. And so what happens is the guy has a heart attack on the way, and so our guy Joe thinks he's already wanted, and he's already killed whoever was Harriet's boyfriend. All these
On accident.
on accident, and so he takes his identity, and so when he gets to L.A., then he falls in with these criminals, and they think that who knows, and he kills more people, and they it's like all sorts of great 1949 thing. They go to an NBA game, and it's all white guys doing
Short.
in short shorts is shooting with two hands. And the announcer, and Pat wrote this great thing. Oh, the announcer said, "Oh my God, did you see that he dribbled? He switched hands when he dribbled." And so there's all sorts of stuff, and it's the great thing about it is it's unpredictable. You can't predict what's going to happen, and who he's going to end up with. It's always you're on the edge of your seat because
Yeah.
there's danger, and it's funny all the way. I can't wait to do it.
And the cool thing is you're rooting for him the entire time, even though he keeps
Right, but-
accidentally killing people.
Yeah, but it's the problem is it's 2025. It's Hollywood. Hollywood won't do anything new. They want to do retreads, franchises, remakes, reboots. They just won't do anything unusual. They're just afraid to step out anywhere. So we're going to do it independently.
Yeah.
And
Just a couple comments in the chat. Shane Gillis.
oh, Shane Gillis.
Yeah,
Yeah, I love
this
Shane
is
Gillis. And
yeah.
I wouldn't have known about him, of course, but my son, who's 25, has got me onto Shane Gillis.
Mhm. And by the way, David, Sam Quasman is on here too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Sam Quasman is wonderful, and I think I've already apologized to him for cutting him out of airplane, but you know,
Well,
but it wasn't. We didn't get laughs, and it was Sam's fault. Yes. Yeah.
always
Yeah,
someone
always.
else's
Yeah,
fault.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was brilliant direction, but yes.
Yeah. What was the most difficult or funniest bit to film on basketball?
On basketball, well, I don't know that anything was difficult. Trey Parker had to make a shot while he was in the air and not looking at the basket and over his head, and it was not done by any CGI or anything. It could be done today with that, but he actually made the shot, and it took about, I don't know, probably took about 15 takes, but he made it. But the other great scene was, I remember, is when they Trey had to make a shot so that the little boy would live, and he missed the shot, and so and Al Michaels says, "Oh my God, Coop Cooper must really have it in for that little boy," and so they rush. Coop and Reamer rush to the hospital, and they think the kid is dying, and so they start pounding him, and it's just like it was one of the funniest scenes that I've ever shot. It was just, because it kept building, and that's what Pat always calls a block comedy scene. So we love having those in the movies.
Oh, and we got Pat back.
Oh, he's back.
Welcome back, Pat. So his audio is connecting.
His audio. Are you there, Pat?
Am I back?
Oh, there he is.
Pat.
And actually, it went a lot better without you.
What? Did you hear the gunshot? It was amazing.
No, we didn't hear anything. Yeah.
It was
Jeez.
amazing.
Yeah.
I just had to fight for my life. I had to save my wife. It was amazing. I just had to fight this guy.
Yeah, but can we use that as a bit?
Yeah, I think you can.
Yeah.
I think my computer went out of power.
Oh yeah, you idiot. Yeah.
I had it plugged in, but not properly.
No. Were we in the middle of talking about Sam Quasman when
Yes, I like Sam Quasman with the duck thing with the.
So evidently, Sam Quasman is on this.
He's on.
He's on.
Ah.
Yeah. So
Sam and I go back to the Comedy Store days.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he was there. He had a ventriloquist dummy, which was very funny. He had a great joke. Sam, are you there? I'm going to steal your joke.
He's on.
He said he just loves to read, and he just loves to and he loves to read. He gets up and sometimes he forgets his pants are off, and he walks. And I was in this library, which made me laugh, and that's his big joke. And I'm sorry, I may have ruined it.
Yeah, and he can never do it again. And
yeah. I had a guy once at the Comedy Store come up to me. I was with Letterman, and this guy came up and said, "That new bit that you do with the tennis ball." I said, "Yeah." He said, "I did that in Vegas, and it really works."
Great. Oh yeah.
I know. And David said, "Should you hit him or should I?" Yeah. So, yeah. Poor bastard.
Did Robin Williams, was he known for taking a lot of jokes, or was that?
Yeah, it was. Some comics didn't like to have him in the.
In the audience.
Yeah, when that would happen. So.
Well, we can talk about that now because he's dead. So yeah.
If battery's at 1%, is that bad?
Oh my God!
Is your
now they have Pat. They have chargers now that yeah.
It's plugged in.
Yeah, it's plugged in. It's still. Yeah.
We may lose him again.
Yeah.
Quick, let's ask some questions.
Quick, ask all your questions to Prof before.
Yeah, but they have to be at like at 1%. You're each going to get like 8% of the 1%.
Oh, man. I love how professional we are at this.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of questions about Kentucky Fried Movie and the sketches that were cut from it. So specifically, people are asking you about Alpha 2.
I can't remember anything.
Pocket Fisherman, Slapstick, and,
I don't
and
think...
any other ones that were cut.
Some of them were right from the theater, right?
Yeah, some of the material was like, we did his new car, which actually Pat did from the show.
Yeah.
And and Sex Record was from the show. A lot of it was based on the show.
Big Jim something.
Big Jim Slade, yeah.
Slade from Nebraska.
Jim would come in as Big Jim Slade.
I'm going to follow this cord and see what's happening. Keep talking. I can hear you now.
Yeah.
It may not be plugged into the wall.
Oh, yeah. This is, he's good at writing jokes.
Not good at plugging his computer in.
My God, she can't do anything here.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, wait a minute. There it is. I see a better.
You need a millennial.
He spotted the problem.
Yeah.
And Debbie.
Yeah.
And Debbie.
Yeah. That's in another city here. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I got to
take a question. Well,
sure. Here we go.
Yeah, I can hear. Don't forget now. I can hear anything you're saying.
Oh, okay. So, what was your worst memory about Pat?
No, is that it?
No, I'm kidding.
No.
Where did the film, the India scene. Oh, wait, in basketball. Where did you film the India
Oh,
scene in basketball?
you
It
know,
just
I
looks
know
like
the
Bushwick
airport.
in
We
Brooklyn.
use the airport, the Long Beach airport
Oh,
for that when he arrives in India. And then in the car scene, I don't know, but we have some very funny outtakes with Trey Parker and a goat
mm.
in the back seat. And that
What?
was
I,
funny.
I just came in for that. What?
I was talking about the famous Trey Parker and a goat and a goat scene in in basketball. Yeah.
So for both of you, what was your experiences like working with Leslie?
Leslie was fun to be around.
Yeah. And well, he was a tremendously nice and cooperative guy, and really a very fine actor. You know, I went to see him in Love Letters with Carol Burnett,
Mm.
and he was very good. I mean, he was excellent, and he was actually a really good actor. But he was always in these B movies. But he was a closet clown, and although he had all these, we when we cast him, we didn't assume he had any sense of humor, but he was always clowning around on set, but with a fart machine. So that's what he did, and he had
Can you
this
tell us about the podcast?
little diaphragm, which I have one of them in my office, and he would make these farting sounds, and usually to strangers when they would come up to him, and he would talk very seriously, and then then do the fart sound, and he would love to embarrass people, and every talk show he did it. He had and there's, I think, on YouTube you can see him doing
Mm.
a whole series of these talk shows, and one guy never got it. He never got that it was fake. And I did press with Leslie for one of the Naked Guns in I remember in North Carolina. We were in a hotel in Charlotte and going up the elevator, and people recognized him, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Nielsen, we always, we're in a crowded elevator," and Leslie starts farting, and everybody, you could see everybody like pressing themselves against the wall and trying to get out on the next floor. So
The elevator, you did elevator gags with Jim as well.
yeah, Jim and Jerry and I always did elevator. When we'd be on an elevator, Jim would ask me, "So what did the doctor say?" And I said, "Well, it's contagious, and I have to be quarantined for a month. I can't be within 10 feet of anybody." And then I start coughing, and he asked me what are the symptoms. I said, "Well, the genital rashes are the worst," and I would start blowing my nose in a guy's sleeve, his jacket sleeve. So, and until they got the joke, I think. Yeah,
And so you actually you did this at the start of COVID.
I did. Yeah, that's right. It was with Ellie. Yeah,
It's very different
yeah,
during COVID.
yeah.
That joke,
I
like
can't.
literally, I think you literally sneezed in someone's.
I did
We
sneeze.
were
Well,
on. We were in Westwood.
we were getting tested, I think,
So
or
you
we
did that
got.
once when we were testing, but
Yeah,
once at the very start of COVID, before the complete lockdown. It was sort of a lockdown,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
we didn't know, and we went with a group actually to
yeah,
dinner,
yeah.
and on the way on the way out of the restaurant, there's people on Westwood just walking around, and David literally starts coughing and sneezing in someone's sleeve. and
It's just
and this is like when we sort of there was conversation about this new thing
right.
that,
Yeah.
but you did that
I
again,
thought you were talking about when we got the shots,
and
or
then you did
when
it
we got
again
tested.
when we
Yeah,
went so we went to get tested, and then there were people in line to get
yeah,
vaccines,
yeah.
and you pretended like you had gotten the vaccine, and
Yeah,
you're
and
like,
it
oh
kind of
my
hurt,
God,
and I
my
think I fell
hurt.
down, and
You
yeah,
fell down, people helped you up, and
and
then it
people helped,
turned out
and
you
I
had
tried,
COVID.
and I coughed on them. It turned out I really did have COVID.
You did. Oh, you gave that person COVID. Oh man.
We have fun, don't we? So that was,
What was it like, David?
and
Oh,
yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
What were you saying?
Then, but I had been invited the night before to an anti-vaxxer party, and so and then I found out the next day I had COVID. Anyway,
So you had
is
to,
this could everybody thinks we should do a sitcom about this house, but yeah,
so then you
but
had to
yeah.
call
I have to
that lady
call her and say I
and
had
tell her,
I
by the
actually
way,
have COVID.
I
I
have
never had any
COVID.
symptoms. I didn't believe in it.
No.
Anyways, what is there
Okay,
another?
so what was it like working with John Landis?
Oh yeah, well, at the time we didn't know how to direct, so we had written Kentucky Fried Movie, and we Landis was the only director we knew, so
Mm.
we put him on, and he added a lot of great jokes, and we had since we had never done a movie, we had never gone through pre-production and casting and hiring everybody and actually on the set just the process, rehearsing the thing first and then they light it. And so we didn't know anything about that, but so we learned a lot from Landis, and he also added a lot of great jokes and did a lot of very fine directorial things, which I don't think we cared about, but because all we cared about was the jokes. So one shot in the courtroom scene, which we did on stage, uh, it was a very complicated shot, and and Landis designed it so the camera would push in, and tables were moved and grips. It was all this stuff. It took 10 takes, and I think in the end we just cut it. And I don't think Landis was too happy with us, but we really learned a lot from John, and we also learned that we needed to direct if we really wanted the movie to turn out 100%. And he took a lot of our suggestions, but we wanted to get all our suggestions taken as real. So, and that's what we did for Airplane. We just held out to direct.
That story's bullshit.
Yeah, of course.
You know
it
the
is.
real story
Wow.
behind that.
Yeah.
I went to my actual office now and I got power.
Oh,
Okay.
great.
It's a much better background. Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Darker.
It's dark. It's
It's
very
darker.
Like David's
just
heart.
Yeah.
it makes
So, but so ever since you were on, we just talking about Sam Quasman. I think the audience is getting
That's
really
enough of
bored.
that. Sam's a great guy. I like Sam.
I know, but enough about Sam. I mean, there's got to be some other question. But now all our questions are about Sam Quasman.
Everybody's worried about my power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to have you back.
Yeah. Good to
What
have
else
you
do we
back.
have? Get a question for Pat.
Yeah, Pat. What
What?
happened to that? What happened to that Weird Al song? That's the.
Oh yeah,
That's
was,
where we
yeah.
get cut off.
Oh, the Weird Al song
Weird Al song.
was for Hot Shots, right?
Yeah,
It
the
was
skid
called
marks in the sky.
Skid Marks in the Sky. Yeah, it was really funny, but
Yeah.
it was for the opening. It was too funny. It didn't set the serious tone. Because now it starts with like we're on the aircraft carrier and stuff.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe we could put it at the end, but still it just didn't fit. But it's funny. I talked to him about it recently. He put out all his songs that he did, and he said I forgot to put that one out.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah, I have it here, and
Oh, so you're gonna play it for us now? That's great.
yeah, no, yeah. Skid Marks in the Sky. It was great. It was a great idea. You used him on used him in Naked Gun, didn't we?
All three Naked Guns, because he was a friend of Bob Weiss, our producer, and so we always had a cameo for Weird Al, and the best one was on the original Naked Gun, where George says to Leslie, "They're not here for you. Weird Al Yankovic is on the plane." So it's just a great
yeah. Also, no, he's just great. I like him. I had a story, but I forgot it. I'm watching The Power.
You're distracted.
I'm just not focused on.
We got Pat at half speed now.
I know.
He's like,
I'm ready to roll.
Power, yeah. Okay.
We have another question for you, Pat. Get all of the Pat questions
quick
in.
before
His computer dies again.
Yeah.
What was it like working on Wrongfully Accused?
Oh, I loved it. I loved directing. It just didn't make any noise.
Oh, it was ahead of its time, Pat.
Yeah, way ahead of its time. There was things in that I just creepily love in there. It just when he's trying to get attention of the girl. He calls out her name. She can't hear. He throws a little pebble against the window. Nothing. And then he throws a big rock and nothing. And then it's a boulder that hits the window. She still doesn't hear it. And then he throws a cat against the window, which I loved. It was like that was my favorite joke on the whole thing.
And
But
that's a
I,
scene that's in a lot of movies. I mean, the serious
yeah,
part.
yeah, that's the thing. I
Yeah.
wanted to do The Fugitive and other things, and it was the problem with it is, and I knew as I was doing it that the boy girl thing. He's like, he's so old and she's so young. It should have been a different way. Yeah, but that was. But I loved Leslie and I. We would talk a lot about stuff, and he was. Harry Lauder. He liked Harry Lauder, who was a Scottish 1920, 30, 40 singer. He would sing a lot of his songs. He had a good time. We had a great time, and I love Vancouver. So that's the deal. And the movie
Yeah.
made maybe $10 million or something like that, of which I got 9. my wife
So
was
all
laughing.
in all, not a bad outing. Yes.
Yeah, so it worked out good.
Yeah.
So how did
No.
you guys meet Bob Weiss and John Landis? I know-
Well, we met Bob Weiss uh, the the first week where we were doing previews for Kentucky Fried Theater, and he was there in the front row, and we kept saying, "Who's this big
Yeah.
bearded guy who kept showing up every week?" He kept bringing more people to see the show, and finally we talked to him after one of the shows, and he said he was a television producer, and of course we went, "Oh wow, it's a
Yeah.
real television producer." And
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
he actually, it turned out he was doing police training films, but
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
but so
Yeah.
we had him back to talk about, because we wanted to do a TV show. We wanted to get out of the theater somehow, or do
Yeah.
a movie or something. So we had him back to the backstage green room, and in those days we had all sorts of building violations, and if the fire inspector showed up, we were, it was crazy. So, and we had this fire drill where we would close up thing, we would take out the extra row of chairs in the audience that were in the aisle, and
Hmm.
close a door that led to a thing, and so the fire, and so it just blew everything. We were pretending that we were more important than we were, and Weiss was pretending he was more important. So, and that kind of broke the ice. And from that, we always laughed about that experience. And then Weiss wanted us to be extras in one of his police training films. So we did. And another extra that was working on it was John Landis. That's where we met
Oh,
Landis.
really? Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
yeah.
Oh, wow. He had done that movie
Schlock.
Schlock.
So
Landis had
you
done.
called John Landis on the
And
phone.
so, yeah, well, oh yeah, this was after we met Landis, because we just saw he did a movie, he did Schlock with $60,000 of family money, and
Yeah, yeah.
didn't do any business, but there was an article in the LA Times about Landis, this young, I guess he was 21 or something, or 24, something, a young director, and he did a feature, and he was also on Carson. So I watched it, and I said, "This guy, we got to meet him. He's younger than we are, or
Yeah, yeah.
around our age." So I called him up, and the first thing he said, I said, "My name is David Zucker, and I was going to say Kentucky Fried Theater, but I didn't get that far." He said, "How did you get my number?" I said, "Well, I got it from the distributor." And he said, "They gave you my number?" And so this is like, Landis was just cracking away. And I said, "John, I don't want anything from you. We run this little theater called Kentucky Fried Theater, and we just wanted to invite you to come to it."
Yeah.
So, and he said, and then he calmed down. He said, "Oh yeah, I've seen that on my way to work," because he was doing
Yeah.
additional dialogue for Cubby Broccoli for the James Bond movies at Fox, which was only 2 blocks away from our theater. So he did come to see the theater. We met him, and then we arranged to have lunch with him a couple of days later, and we wanted to ask him about how do you do a movie.
Yeah.
And he said,
He's a kindred spirit. I mean, he likes
yeah.
a lot of stuff that we like to do.
And in Kentucky Fried Movie, where they did the kind of the Today Show thing, and they had a little hamster, and they were doing all that, and then when they were done with the segment, she has the hamster in her hand, and she goes like she just flips. So that was Landis, yeah.
Schlock Schlock made him. He was on Carson because of Schlock. Schlock became a thing that people really liked to see. Because I was thinking of the same thing in Minneapolis, because it was a Joan Crawford movie that was so bad, and I thought of doing, but he got there first, which is great.
Yeah, but I remember one thing I loved about it is he did have a guy in a wheelchair. The wheelchair kind of clunked down some steps for comic effect. I thought that was great, and so that's where I had the idea to do the Nordberg wheelchair thing down the steps.
I just thought of a bit I had in something that we took out. It wasn't a gun, but the idea is the guy goes up to a girl in a bar and at a restaurant and says, "May I have this dance?" But she's in a wheelchair, and he picks her up and dragging her all over the floor.
Yeah, just mildly bad taste, but but funny.
She has a lot of braces and stuff, and he's dragging her around the floor.
So we do that we should have done that in the Dime a Dance in Star Malta.
Yeah, we could have done that. Yeah.
But that's a joke on a joke. Okay.
That's how we met.
Yeah. Karen said that's how we met.
Yeah.
How did you meet Karen?
We met. She picked me up. I was doing police. I was just running police academy. Israel and I Neil Israel and I were crossing the street into Century City, and I saw her dress blew up, and then I knew that this is somebody I had to meet.
Yeah.
There was a certain garment was missing, so I thought she's interesting.
Yeah.
She's a gal I got to know.
I like that style.
And how long have you been married, Pat?
44 years. We just did the 44 thing. Yeah. Isn't that great?
Oh,
That's
amazing.
older than I am. Yeah.
That's as old as I am.
Yeah.
You got married when I was born.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's exactly why.
Yeah.
It's an old tradition in our family.
Yeah.
To get married when I'm born.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
All right. What else you got, Eller?
All right. I have a question for both of you. What is your favorite Naked Gun joke?
I'll tell you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Pat.
There's a sequence that I love so much, and it's the Enrico Palazzo national anthem, and then it's Leslie when he's the umpire. To me, when that face that he has when in the mask, when he calls the strike like strike,
Yeah,
everybody goes nuts, and then you can see him. Oh boy, this is fun! I can't wait to do the next one.
and then he started. Yeah, started.
And then when he pulled the gun on the umpires.
Yeah.
Go,
Okay.
He's safe. That's right.
Yeah.
and the tiger that ate the guy in second base.
That's right. Those are great. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very nice ending to the film.
And
yeah, I think we had that first.
Yeah.
We had the ending first, I think.
Yeah. Well, we always started out each of the guns with what was the relationship with the boy and the girl, and then what was the third act. So
yeah.
And that's how we started. And then everything was always an investigation. My favorite joke, I think, has to be "Nice Beaver." It's just
I know.
two words, and it's the best.
It's so stupid because when it happened, we laughed so hard for such a long time at that. We couldn't believe that we said it, and then we couldn't believe how stupid it was.
Yeah.
and then Jerry had a line about the bracelet that's around her ankle.
Down
And
there
then-
again. Yeah.
And
and-
I don't get that joke.
well,
I
you
don't
know,
get it.
it was from when Fred McMurray played the insurance guy with
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, that was great for us too.
and he
Talk
actually
about
said
Farrell
that. That's how
Lovely.
he
Yeah,
said that's
yeah,
the honey of an
yeah,
ankle bracelet.
yeah, yeah. Oh, we used a lot of great lines from that movie. That's great. I forgot about that. Double
More
indemnity. Yeah.
more noir. Yeah.
do you guys think
Noir.
that you could do a kind of a sketch comedy movie in 2025?
I don't
Yeah.
know why we would want to because it's much easier to. I mean, it's easier and harder. It takes more work, but to have an audience sit for an hour and a half and just do sketches, it's like they get tired. Whereas if you have a plot with a
Yeah.
character in the first act that needs, and then the audience will lose track of how tired they were, or
If
and they'll want to follow the story. People
Mhm.
love to be told a story. And
if go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I didn't have anything more.
Okay, if you see, it's like when Chaplin started making features, they actually were like little sketches that had a connection to the theme and Got to Meet the Girl thing. And the same
Yeah.
thing was with Lauren Hardy. They're actually kind of like little sketches that lead to the story that they're. So it's just better to string them together and make a film.
Right. And the Marx Brothers,
Yeah,
who were the greatest ever, but they only had one good movie. It was Night at the Opera because
yeah,
Irving Thalberg, who kind of took them over after they were, at Paramount,
yeah.
said, you know, nobody cares about the Marx Brothers, but they'll care about, the young couple.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
they had just done Duck Soup, which didn't do so well. That and we tried to bring that kind of humor back with Brain Donors, which
that's right.
was called Lame Duck.
Yeah, Lame
At the
Ducks.
beginning. But
Yeah.
I wish that would have succeeded because I really enjoyed writing that a lot. That was a lot of fun to do. Brain Donors. There you are. What's
Yeah.
next,
What's
Ellie?
next?
Okay, so many actors got their start in your movies, David.
Oh, and met their end.
And
Yeah. We did many of Ethel Merman's last film and John Houseman's last film, and
Yeah.
I think George Carlin, everybody. Yeah.
yeah. So from the ones that you kind of like maybe launched their career or
Oh.
revived their career, which ones stand out to you? For me, Val Kilmer
Val Kilmer, and he's
stands
the
out,
most
but
recent in the news.
yeah.
Yeah, Val. Because then we used him right after you used him for Real Genius, where
That's
he
right.
was so
Yeah,
he
he
was
was
so good.
good. And Leslie didn't have a comedy career
Mm.
before, and people are surprised now, and they say, "Oh,
Yeah,
he did all these serious movies before
Yeah.
yeah.
he was a comedian."
Peter Graves. I mean, the same kind of thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and we did it with Charlie Sheen. His career was a little bit on the wonky side. But I was thinking about David Cheadle. Remember, who he is, the actor. He got
Ooh.
his start. His first movie was Moving Violations. Neil Israel and I
Neil
filmed.
Israel did. Oh,
He played
all
a
right.
guy at the window during a fast food place.
Yeah, and we had Bill Pullman in Ruthless People, and that was
Yeah,
his first movie.
what a
And
great part for him. That was great.
It was
Yeah.
great. He came in for his reading to read for us, and he had that two-tone hair thing, and we
It looks
thought
so
it was so goofy that we said keep that. Did you come up with another one?
You almost gave Steve Carell his
Oh, that's
TV
right. Yeah.
his TV debut.
So this is after I did basketball, and and my partner at the time, Gil Netter, got a deal from NBC where we could do a pilot, and so we cooked up a pilot, and we cast Steve Carell, and he was great. He was so good, and everybody at NBC liked it, but they chose three other pilots to go to
Yeah.
series because who was Steve Carell? He
Well, also
Oh no.
comedy gets a slap in the face a lot by I just pitched something to a studio the other day, and the dude behind the desk says, "You know what? I don't like comedy."
Great.
Yeah, good. So I
Okay.
just said, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you validate? That's what I said, and that's the end of the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Cool. So we're at about an hour and a half now. Should
I'm
we?
still awake.
You guys, you
If
guys
we
want
can,
to keep
Yeah, there
going
are
a
a lot of
few
people
minutes?
wanting to
if
do
there's
things.
other people have
We have
questions.
about 30, about 50
Jesus.
people on.
Okay, so let's
If you
let's
guys
let's see if
want
we had
to
sure we can.
go a
I
little
can
bit
go for a
longer.
little bit longer.
Okay.
Let's just
We
make
could,
our answers shorter, Pat.
yeah, we do a lightning round. Lightning round
Yeah.
now.
Don't Pat has a tendency just to wax on about himself.
Yeah, I got it. Plus, I have so much power now. I can be here how long as you want.
That's
now.
right. Now he's
Yeah.
Now he's
So,
he
but
can last all
but
night.
this is fun. So
There we
That's
go.
what Karen says.
yeah, yeah. Keep going. I'm going to bed.
Um. Okay. So, are you a fan of David Lynch films?
I'm
In a
I
scroll
get.
down.
I must be.
I must
This is
be as soon
stupid, but
as
I don't
you
remember. I
remind
don't,
me who David Lynch is.
give
I'm
me a couple
sure I'm a
movies
fan.
they did, and I'll
Yeah.
remember.
I don't
He
know.
did a
I don't,
TV
but I probably
series.
am.
I just not. We're not that film literate, really.
Now, it's weird because our job is making things up, so I don't know what other people are making up. So I don't see a lot of movies either. So
No, neither do I. Yeah,
but
don't.
Dave Lynch sounds like somebody who's good, so I'll
Yeah,
say yes.
but you know, what movie I liked is The Holdovers.
What was
I
that?
actually it was funny. I mean, not in the way our movies are
Yeah,
structured,
yeah.
but that made me laugh after thinking I was going to turn it off after the first 20 minutes.
Uh,
Yeah,
Guy
yeah.
Ritchie, I like. Yeah, I like his stuff. I like Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I think that's a great movie.
Okay.
That's a fabulous one. Hope I said the right guy.
Who knows? Yeah.
I don't know. I'm in the dark here. I can't see shit. So, what else, Ellie?
So, do you guys have this is a question. We have a lot of Naked Gun 4 questions. So, do you have any
Sure.
plans to do a Naked Gun 4? Obviously,
No,
you
we've
can't.
been fired.
You've been fired from
Yeah,
that.
no.
So, what
Yeah.
happened to the script that you wrote?
Oh, well, we repurposed it. We called it Counterintelligence, spelled with
Mhm.
one L and a J. And it's still a great story. It's a father-son story, like it would have been Frank Drebin and his son. And or not, it's really about the son, but
Yeah.
it's, it's
Yeah.
about sons remembering his father. And but we'll do it someday. That's a little higher budget. It's probably
Mhm.
around 30 million. And so we figured lower hanging fruit is Star of Malta, which is
Yeah, we'll go there.
yeah.
Yeah, and we have a couple questions about what are your feelings about Naked Gun 4, if you have any.
That has more feelings than I do about most anything.
First it was shocking not to be able to do it.
Yeah.
To be something that you've helped nurture. And then we actually saw a first draft of the new guys, and it scared the shit out of me because it had a lot of weird stuff in it, and so I thought, oh God, this is like what are we doing? And saw the trailer, and the trailer is interesting. There are some things in it. There's a bathroom kind of scene in it, but we did that with Naked Gun. We did it a different way. We just kind of
Yeah.
not classier, but I guess the idea is instead of he's got diarrhea, the fact is which is in the new movie. He just left with his mic on, which is it's a funny way to go. But it's yeah. Sour grapes? No, it's more like jumping on a bike without the seat on it. Grapes. it just yeah. It probably this new one probably will open huge and
Well, like Airplane 2 opened big because it was Airplane. Everybody thought, hey, great, it's going to be Airplane. And
but
then
yeah, we would have done it different. I mean, I'll tell you what I didn't like. I don't like the the opening with him as a the little girl looks like Shirley Temple with a sucker walks into a bank, and then it's he takes his mask off and it's him. It just it's a different kind. It's not Frank Drebin. It's his son. So it's more like John Wicky kind of stuff that they're going for. But then funny underwear with red hearts is not my way of saying. I was afraid they're going to turn him into a clown. And
But with the underwear, it was kind of clowny.
Yeah.
that I didn't. Yeah, I'm not crazy about that. We'll see what happens. I know some jokes in the thing which a trailer are fine, good, and we'll just you just keep thinking I would have done it differently. This is not what we would have done. So
and
it's
and it's ironically, these are guys who just idolize Airplane, Naked Gun, Hot Shots, Top Secret, all and I I, I kind of figured that it must look easy to
Yeah.
do this stuff, and but it's not, and it's unless you've kind of grown up doing it like we did, it's difficult. That's why Ellie and I launched this course, Master Crash, because there's a lot more to it than just what people see. It's not enough to be a fan.
Mhm.
And I've talked to Seth MacFarlane, and he was super nice, and he just spent 10 minutes telling me how great all these movies were that we did. And I'm a sucker for anyone who will tell me how great I am. So what could I say? But and then the director came here twice. He's super nice, and they're all such great fans. But it's painful that our script is not being done.
Yeah.
Somebody else, and it's like I just think that they think that we're too old and not funny anymore. So,
what they went with is a safety thing by getting Seth MacFarlane and getting uh,
Liam,
Liam,
big
who had,
star, yeah.
they thought the same. That would be like Leslie is an actor who's going to do comedy.
I,
So that
our Naked Gun would have been probably 20 or $25 million cheaper to do, and we wouldn't have had as big a star as Liam. Yeah,
it has so many great and just so many good physical stuff in it. It's a very good script. I really. I'll have to
yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
read it to these people someday. We'll
That's
just
right.
read
That'll
it.
be our next
That
Facebook.
that actually would
Live.
be fun to
We'll
read
read
scenes
We'll have
from
a
it.
table read of
Do a little.
Table read of the thing. Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, you guys watching this from home, let us know in the comments. This is obviously the first one we've done. Let us know what your experience has been and what you like and what you wish
Yeah, or if
you
in
would
the
like us to
future
do
you'd like to
differently.
see just me and not Pat, I
Yeah,
mean,
that'd be
whatever,
yeah.
any comments, yeah.
Which outfit did you like on Ellie?
That's
Which
right, yeah.
outfit did you like
We
on
we
me?
we like the feedback. Yes.
Yes. And we had a question, and I will take this question. Would you ever take submissions for funny bits from fans? It's my dream to make a spoof movie. So, uh, you guys, the Master Crash course that we are launching will have interactive. Um, it'll be interactive. So you actually, we're
And I'm going to talk to people,
yeah.
and if we can rope Pat into this,
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So we want to create a space where you could actually, write your own stuff and film it, and we can all look at it, and you can share it in the community, and we want to build like a community around creating really great comedy, because apparently it seems like the rules, people don't know about the rules, and so David, now in his old age, is very much into mentorship and helping and sharing this knowledge and passing on this information. And we'd love to rope Pat in here as well, and so get you guys more information and more opportunities to practice, and see what's possible and using the rules and so forth. So if you're interested in that, go to mastercrash.com and get on the list. Right now you can sign up for it, so you're one of the first people to find out when it's launched.
Because I'm on Instagram and Facebook. I get people messaging me all the time asking for advice, and I can't give everybody. I spend all my time just giving Pat advice, and
I
so
know.
what I want to do is this master crash. I can really give people
Yes.
some tips, and I would love to rope Pat into it too.
Well, we'll just
Yeah.
see. We'll
Yeah,
see how this goes.
that's
We'll
right. Yeah,
we'll see how it goes, and
yeah.
we'll see, and maybe bring other people from your
Other people.
pasts as well, and
Yeah,
bring Bob
McManus,
Weiss and McManus
Jerry,
and
yeah,
Jerry and
whoever's still alive.
yeah, whoever
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, yeah.
Bob Hayes.
Yeah,
And to on Instagram, you guys, if your screen is super big and you're only seeing shoulders, Instagram is doing this weird thing where if you tap the image, it'll just zoom in, and then you can't get out of it unless you exit and come back into the live. So
oh,
that's why that happens. So it's not. We apologize. I wish it was under our control to get rid
yeah,
of that thing.
Yeah.
right.
All right. How are we doing, you guys?
I'm okay.
I'm good. I'm good.
What advice do you guys have for younger people, like someone in college and high school? We have a, someone who's
Yeah.
just starting out and they want to do something in comedy.
Stay young. Don't get old.
Well,
No, they
because the
don't.
studios will never hire you for anything.
Well, here's the deal. See, it's a whole different thing with me. Is that out of high school, I immediately got into a comedy group. So I started out being on stage a lot, and and didn't start. I was in a comedy duo. We played colleges, and I learned it that way. I mean, you're funny in high school. That's the first start. But then it was like going out and doing this stuff. I think it was easier when it was a great time to be in LA when we were there. 73 or 4, I forget when I came out. 72, whatever it was. The comedy store had just opened. Kentucky Fried Theater was there. Johnny Carson had just moved out. So that's
Yeah.
where all the comedy stuff was. And Brooks had started making his movies, and comedy became a thing. I mean, there wasn't a day at the comedy store when somebody wasn't there looking for somebody to be in something. So it was just
You could get seen,
yeah, you could see it, and that was it. A lot of the guys, Leno, Letterman out of there, and everybody, Williams.
so
But the thing is by the performing end, then I got into the writing thing, and I know why, because I was doing like television shows like Smothers Brothers and things with the caveat you'll perform.
yeah.
Like the best stuff I wrote isn't going to be mine. So that was the deal. So
So Pat, today, are there sketch groups doing performing it, or is
I
it
heard
just
in
stand-ups?
I don't. Well, I think a lot of stand-ups. I don't see groups anymore. I don't
Yeah,
see duos anymore. Comedy teams anymore.
but
Uh,
There are
there are
teams you can join. There are improv
groundlings,
groups. Yeah,
groundlings in
there's
LA, I think.
Groundlings. There is UCB. I don't think maybe they were a lot more popular back then. I think they're not. I mean, every time I go to a UCB show, it is pretty sold out though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, it's
it's
the
like
people
yeah,
still
they
want
get
it.
a lot of people come out of there. Yeah,
yeah.
some.
I
But
think
I guess that's good then. I would I would just here's the deal. Whatever you do, perform as much as you can to get in front of as many people as you. I played the 2 people once. Midnight show, Dudley's Brave New
Yeah,
Workshop.
but the other thing is you can write stuff and direct it and just do it
Yeah.
on your phone, and because the equipment was very limited when we started, but now
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
available to everybody.
But
And
it was a whole different time to be out there. It was kind of also that my friends became guys who ran studios. That was
that's
pretty good
right.
too.
Well, if you can wait long enough, yeah.
Yeah, walked into 20th Century Fox where Joe Roth was there, who had done Bachelor Party, which is the movie I wrote. So then I came and he said, "What do you want?" I said, "I want to do Top Gun, and I want to do Hot Shots." He said, "Okay," and I said, "Here's the joke. I want to see how it opens," and it was just the guy putting on his flight suit and just zippers everywhere, just zippers, 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 zippers. And I said, "That's the opening title." And he said, "Okay, we're good." He said just like that, "Okay,
Those-
we're going to do it." And I said, Jim Abrams, and he said, "Yeah, that'd be great."
yeah,
So that was the deal.
and
That was how.
when we did Police Squad, of course, Police Squad came right after Airplane. We could do anything, and then 6 years later, we went to Frank Mancuso, and we said, "You remember that failed TV show that we did, Police Squad? We want to make a movie out of it." And he said, "Sure."
I
It's
know
like,
it was like so weird.
no,
Okay,
it's like,
so
yeah,
here's my Neil is and I. We had the Paul Maslansky had an idea and he wanted to do a police squad, a police
Police Academy.
academy. Yeah. So we said okay, great. So we did all the research. We went to L.A. Um, cop place where you learn how to be a cop. What the hell academy? And so we
Yeah.
went there. We were there for weeks. We got ideas for characters. We got idea for the ending. The ending came out of that place.
Yeah.
And then we went back to Paul and we had a meeting with Alan Ladd Jr. and we told him the story and we had a diagram of everything. We just did it up. And he said here's what he said. He said, "Great, let's go meet the studio head." And this is the first thing I ever did. So now we walk into the thing, head of the studio behind the chair. Alan says, "Go, tell me what you told me." We told him the story, and the guy did this. He did this and stood up and says, "Gentlemen, we're making this motion picture." So I'm thinking, this is the easiest fucking job in the history of the world. This is incredible. And the guy, he says, "Now here's the deal. I want it for this time." Fine. We said, "That's great. We'll get it done." And that was it. And we split $40,000, me and Israel. And then, but the back end was pretty huge. So, because it was all profit. I think the movie cost like two something and made.
Right, and the studio couldn't hide it fast
No,
enough.
it's hard. It's
That's
hard to hide that
happened
money. Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Airplane. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had the worst deal in the history of movies because we were willing to do anything just to direct.
Yeah, yeah. I think if I had one deal that was going to, I forget where I was doing. I was making a deal with someplace, and they said they get, the thing says any new item any new media that's up that it will come into play within the next 100 years.
Yeah.
We still will own it. And then
Yeah.
I had a waiver in it that when it plays on Mars, I get 100% of the profit. So I have a Mars waiver.
You have a Mars waiver, the only person in the history of
In the
Hollywood.
world that has a galactic kind of thing going on. All right, I'm done now. What's next?
Awesome. So people are asking about the director's cut airplane
Oh
screening.
yeah, so we're doing an airplane screening in Seattle and Denver, and it's being advertised as the unreleased director's cut of Airplane. And what Jerry and Jim and I, for years having Airplane play, we thought it played too slow, so our director's cut is actually shorter than the original movie, the only one of that in the history of Hollywood. Directors always want to add in stuff, and the truth is, when they have on the DVD or something, and added materials from that weren't in the movie.
Yeah.
If they were funny at all, they would have been in the movie. So these are all things that aren't funny. So, and we certainly weren't going to add those back in. But there was some callback jokes, which we thought, why are we doing this again? So we just cut it out, and we just wanted to make the thing go faster. We'd get bored if we ever watched it. So that's the director's cut of Airplane.
We did a director's cut screening here in LA, and they came to pick up the movie, and they're like, "Oh, the person who picked it up was like, I can't wait to see the scenes that are going to be in this." And they were like, "No, this is shorter."
It's actually shorter and we also did the same thing Top Secret. We cut out stuff. And then some people said, my favorite scene was, and they list the scene that we talked about. But the worst thing is when people would come up to me and say, my favorite scene in Airplane, and they'd say the scene, and I had no recollection of the scene, and it turns out it's from Airplane 2. So there is some hope for Naked Gun 4.
Recently, somebody sent you a book that's heavily, has you in it, and then there's some quotes from Airplane, but then it's from
Oh,
Airplane too.
that's right. It was from Airplane too.
It's a book about comedy,
Yeah,
and
done by Key and Peele. Those guys are great, but
yeah,
Yeah,
but
one of them
yeah,
wrote this book,
got it wrong.
and
yeah.
oh God,
Um,
anything else?
did Neil work on Scary Five?
Neil
Yeah,
Israel. Yes, Neil was one of the directors at the end.
and for the reshoots for the two.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we wrote a couple of things together that hasn't obviously sold, way ahead of their time. Obviously,
Yeah.
these two scripts, but we still collaborate on things. So, and every so often, Bachelor Party comes up. Somebody wanted to make it into a Broadway thing, and yeah,
Yeah,
fine.
right.
Go ahead.
And that was one of Tom Hanks' first movies.
That was his second film. I had, yeah, he was the guy who wanted the first place for the thing.
Yeah.
We had a whole different cast, and we were filming for a whole week before we
Oh, my.
realized this isn't working. And then we went to Fox, and Fox said, yeah, okay. This again, they could say, okay, then get the people you want. And then it was the Night of the Long Knives, when you had to knock on the door of the
Oh,
people.
you have to say you're fired. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
So here's a very specific question. When Frank grills the guy and has to pay him to answer, then the
Mhm.
guy asks Frank, "Why do you want to know?" and has to pay Frank to answer. Is there a story behind that idea?
Oh, yeah.
I love that one. Mhm.
Pat did that on stage
Ah,
with Bo Caprell. Yeah.
Johnny Dark, yeah.
Johnny Dark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And they did that exact routine, and we just put it right in
yeah.
Naked
It
Gun.
fit perfectly there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it had been tested, much like the Marx Brothers put their stuff on the road.
And
We
live
had
theater. Yeah, live show.
yeah.
so shout out to Will Harris. He's on the call, and he's saying, when will you be doing another book? Would you like to share what Will did on your current book,
Yeah, on the Surely You Can't Be Serious.
which you
Will,
can pick up at theairplanebook.com?
Will Harris did all the interviews, and
Yeah.
and he did scads of interviews and talked to a lot of people, and
Yeah.
he just dumped them all off at the house, and we had to wade through it. But he did. Will did a great job, and yeah, I
did.
definitely work with him again.
Yeah.
But I'd never work with Sam Quasman again.
No, I mean
No.
he's
Sam is done.
yeah. You climbed over his back to get up.
Yeah, right.
Went up the ladder on him.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's Hollywood. Yeah.
That's Hollywood.
Amazing.
Yeah, well, that's Chinatown.
Yes.
What was
Yeah,
this is an interesting one for both of you. What was a movie idea that you both, maybe separately or together, wanted to do, but you didn't get to do it?
Naked Gun 4.
yeah, that's basically the
Yeah,
one.
that's basically the
Yeah.
one. That's the one that got away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. I'll
So-
tell you a movie that I've checked into several times, and now somebody will hear this and they'll make the movie, right? But Bread and Chocolate is one of my favorite movies, and it seems like be a good thing to redo. And I thought
Bread
I
and
want
chocolate.
Bread and Chocolate.
I don't think I've ever
It's
seen that.
about
Must be a David Lynch.
a foreign dude who
Yeah.
goes to, I think it's from Greece. He goes to Italy because that's where the work is, but he had to fight. He's one or the other guy is going to get the job,
Oh.
and I thought it'd be great for Jackie Chan, who I like very much.
Ah.
But that didn't work. Yeah, Naked Gun 4.
Naked Gun 4. And for you also Airplane 2, I think, right?
Oh, yeah. At the end of Airplane, big hit, and so Eisner and Katzenberg, the studio wanted us to do a sequel, and Jerry and Jim and I didn't want to do another Airplane movie. It's like why we didn't want to do another, Leslie Nielsen style Naked Gun. It's just
Same jokes, yeah.
We've done it. So they said, they pressed us. They said, you got to come up with some idea. We're going to do this secret sequel. So we did come up with an idea. And the idea was Bob and Julie fly down the plane. He takes her home to meet his family and get married, and it's The Godfather, and he becomes.
See, that would have been. So here's the deal. We did Hot Shots, big hit, big da 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 da. Then they wanted to do Hot Shots, the next one. I thought would be great, instead of doing another Hot Shots, because it's the same kind of jokes and same kinds of things. it would be to put the same cast into The Firm, the
Yeah.
yeah, the
Yes.
film with Tom Cruise, and Tug Benson, Lloyd Bridges would be the
Yeah.
guy. So I thought that'd be the way to go with it because
Right.
you
And
have different jokes. Yeah,
yeah,
and the same people would be in it. Yeah, but
our Airplane 2 would have been with Stack, Bridges, Nielsen, and Graves.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, would be
yeah,
they would have been mafia guys or something.
yeah. It's kind of like the Carry On movies, the British
Yeah,
stuff,
but the thing
where they
is,
put the same people in different settings.
not to get stuck doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
As I said, I was tired of the Naked Guns. Even I didn't want to direct the third one. I wanted to, move on to something else.
Yeah. Did you ever discuss Elvis with Priscilla Presley?
At the table read, I think I think I said to her, I saw the first episode of whatever the TV movie she
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
and I said, but I now that we're shooting the movie, I won't have time to see it. Can you tell me how it turned out? She did not want to discuss it. Yeah.
Did she
So-
She
tell
was
you what-
fun. We went to San Francisco for the
Yeah.
30th anniversary of Naked Gun. And
With
she was
Priscilla.
there. She was
And
really fun. Yeah.
We had a nice time with her. We took a
Yeah,
picture.
yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you get in touch with me, she said to me. And she hasn't returned my anythings for the past
No. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know what that's about.
That bitch.
Maybe because I said he really wasn't the king. Maybe I said that.
Okay, so you said the wrong thing. Oh my
Yeah, I said I was Billy J.
Don't say
Kramer
that.
and the Dakotas. To me,
Yeah.
they were the kings.
God.
Did she have an opinion about Top Secret?
Priscilla.
Yeah.
It's
'Cause it's like an
because you play.
Elvis type thing.
Yeah.
No, she
No.
never said anything.
Never said anything. But
The connection.
wait a minute. Well, no, she didn't. It was never discussed.
We were going to use her in Naked Four, Naked Impossible.
Yeah, she was going to be
It
in
was
our,
going to be the
in our-
mother. Yeah.
the
She
mother
was.
of
Yeah.
who would have been Andy Samberg.
And then Shaq was the
And
stepfather.
Shaq was her husband. Yeah. And we had
Oh, God, it's
we
so
had
funny.
our character sitting on Shaq's lap, and we were going to
Yeah.
just get a mock-up of Shaq, which would have been huge to make our guy look even smaller
In his lap, yeah.
in his lap. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh God, that script is so funny.
yeah.
All right, guys, we're coming on to 2 hours.
Okay.
I think we did good.
Yeah.
You
I
got
think we did fabulous.
way
Yes.
way past your bedtime
good, yeah.
and still quite spry. Thank you everybody for joining. And I think everybody really enjoyed it because the everyone seems to have been on the entire time.
Oh,
so I think
wonderful. Well, let's do another
you were
one of these.
entertaining.
Yeah.
So we'll schedule another one.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, go to David's Instagram and follow him. Go on his YouTube channel, the Master Crash YouTube channel, and follow that. And go to mastercrash.com and join. So you're one of the first people to know where the course is getting edited right now. We're getting ready to launch it probably in the next 4 weeks or so. So things are moving, and we'll do more of these. This was such a fun
Yeah,
evening.
I had a good time. Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
just, and
Yeah.
and so we'll. I'm fighting to try to get hot shots made. So that'll be the next thing you'll hear from
Or something.
me, or
Yeah,
something, or something that
Yeah, right. No, it's like,
I may.
oh,
I may.
boy.
Yeah, you want fries with this? I might be doing that too. All right, I got
Okay.
power, but I don't know what to do with it.
I
It's gonna be
know. Now you got the
fabulous.
power. Yeah, go to sleep with
Oh,
that.
God.
All
I
right.
gotta- all right. Thanks,
Great-
and thanks,
great-
Debbie. Debbie, she's hanging out.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Yes,
Thanks,
and
Debbie.
Debbie is behind the scenes
Yeah.
running the whole show.
Great seeing you,
Oh.
Pat.
Debbie.
Okay.
And thank you, Ellie, for changing. in
Yes.
front.
and
Thanks.
giving everyone a peep show through the glass.
That's right. Yeah.
See you guys. See
You
ya.
can't
All
do anything right.
Bye bye.